A Giants podcast for Giants fans
by Giants fans.
From the offseason to the wins and the losses, it's time to take one Giant step.
All right, welcome back to One Giant Step, or into One Giant Step. Just gut-wrenching, soul-crushing. We are recording this moments after the Giants' 40-37 loss down in Arlington, Texas, to the Dallas Cowboys in what I think for the rest of the country was the game of the day in the NFL, an exciting fourth quarter that featured 41 points back and forth. Some of the best play that we've seen from Russell Wilson since prime Seattle until overtime. And, of course, the Cowboys have a kicker that can kick it from the parking lot, as we were reminded today. And what's the best way to start this? This is the really, I'm just going to be transparent with the audience. The really, really tricky part and the gift and the curse on the immediacy of doing a podcast. I, full disclosure, ride this emotional roller coaster. As many of you like fully digested or comprehended where my anger feeling, all that stuff is. But look, the bottom line is this: it's a loss. So for all the moral victory stuff, throw that out the window. The team is 0-2 inside the division, and they had a chance based on everything we saw last week, scoring just 6 points, where they scored 37 points. And forget the interception in overtime for a second. 37 points. When the identity on the team is supposed to be the pass rush, the defense, this, that, the other thing with defensively, that should be enough points to win a football game, and it wasn't. So we could talk about James Hudson and how it killed him. We could talk about Brian Daboll's decision not to kick a field goal earlier in the game, which came back to kill him, where every point needed and every point mattered killed him. But in the end, if just bird's eye viewing this, bad decisions happen, bad penalties happen, and this game was filled with a ton. The offense still generated 37 points, and it was not enough to win a football game down in Dallas with a team in the New York Giants that is supposed to be defensive-oriented. So my overall anger, Bryce Gelman, before you jump in here, is that is simply not good enough. And if we want to talk about people's jobs being on the line, and everybody want to throw, Brian Daboll hot seat, Brian Daboll this. I didn't love some of the Brian Daboll stuff today. Again, I'll get back to that decision earlier, but I can understand back and forth. This is a Shane Bowen problem. 100%. You need to do more with the talent on defense than that. That's unacceptable, man.
Yeah, we could sit here and talk about James Hudson in that first drive. I've never seen anything like it in my entire life. 4 penalties for 50 yards, something like that. You can't have that, but I wouldn't say that's completely within the Giants' control. You're never going to take the guy out in the middle of the drive. Brian Daboll took him out for the next drive. Marcus Bowen, you want to talk about a silver lining in this game? The Giants may have found their next immediate starter within the offensive line. He was unreal, dude. The second
unreal in the end, he's the reason they lose the game when he gets pushed back. He was okay. To be fair, he was good on the defense. He was really good. He was really good at this game, much better than James Hudson, who 4 penalties on the same drive to get thrown into a spot that he barely played in college in a division game like this to do the job that he did. I want to give him credit. There's a little bit of a positive there, but Shane Bowen, that play call to end that fourth quarter, the prevent defense, Shaun. All the Cowboys needed was 15, 20 yards. They gave them the 15, 20 yards. The Cowboys didn't even take another snap. They end up calling the timeout at the end. Aubrey comes out, kicks the 64-yarder. Are we forgetting who the kicker for the Cowboys is? You're going to let them do that? Yeah. Oh, it's 64 yards, but it's Brandon Aubrey. He makes everything. And the problem is, Bryce, not only does Aubrey make everything, over the course of bad Giant play over the decade, I mean, how many times does this have to happen? Jake Elliott versus the Eagles, Graham Gano when he was a member of the Carolina Panthers. I'm just so numb to these teams having kickers that can kick the ball from the freaking parking lot and tell you lose. I mean, just think about where we were as we're recording this within an hour ago. That throw to Malik Neighbors that's dropped in a bucket, where the Giants get the ball back 48 seconds, and that is how they take the lead, to have 25 seconds on the clock, and you allow that game to be tied before overtime. With the prevent, it's just atrocious. It's just all the guys you have on this defense. How can that happen? How can it happen? And by the way, the pass rush got after it today too. I thought Burns had an excellent game. I thought Drew Phillips played his ass off in the secondary. And I'm gonna have to go back and watch some of the film on whose fault this is. A Debo or
he was bad,
or Banks at times, but. The pass rush and Phillips, I thought Nubin for the most part had a really good, not Nubin, Holland had a really good game, but ultimately it's just,
you can't call yourself all August. Look at what we have on paper and give up 40 points in a football. I don't care who it's to. And especially when your offense answers that. And I know it was just back and forth, heavyweight affair. That's where this lies for me, Bryce. It's just, I cannot get over how unserious this defense was as a whole to allow that kind of point total.
Yeah, and there were a bunch of positive plays that we saw in that game. The Drew Phillips play near the end of that game in overtime, where he made the tackle to stop the Cowboys from advancing, getting the first down. That was amazing. But there were a bunch of other boneheaded plays. You had two separate occasions where Roy Robertson Harris, hit either the second time was complete.
Oh, that was horrible. He rolls it to the side. Allow me for a second, because the Cowboys got away with one. I'm sorry. The Cowboys got a bad call too with Pickens on the offensive pass interference. But as bad as an undisciplined as some of these penalties were today, some of them just cannot be called. And that Roy Robertson Harris penalty was a joke of a roughing the pit. That just looked like, whatever. He tackled him after the ball went out. This is what we're used to calling. He totally did not drive his body weight onto him.
Not at all. And they were talking about it in the game. Greg Olsen said that you're supposed to go to the side. You're not supposed to entire body weight on the quarterback. He went to the side. Wasn't a penalty, but that's two huge plays for Roy Robertson Harris where he's hitting the quarterback and it's roughing the passer. You cannot have that. And we could sit here, we could talk about the various ways that the Giants lost this game. To allow 40 points, there had to be a multitude of ways you lost the game. At the end of the day, the team's extremely undisciplined. In a division game like this, you cannot afford to have the amount of penalties that the Giants did. If they cut those in half, Shaun, they easily win this game. Easily. And that's at the end of the day, that's what we have to look at. Doubt. It's how undisciplined they were.
No doubt. And some of those drives that just kept going because of some of the defensive penalties. And then on the offensive side of the ball, too, I guess we'll address it now. We're only 6 minutes in. The offense ends up inevitably scoring 37 points in this game. But you were in a spot early where you kicked those 2 field goals. And James Hudson, obviously on the first drive, that was a joke. To be the first player this century to have 4 penalties on one drive. Every point ended up mattering in this game. For the Giants to have left themselves in a position off the Andrew Thomas injury, Bryce, where James Hudson was their big guaranteed money signing swing tackle, knowing that he'd played reckless and undisciplined, and I was willing to look at the positives of James Hudson. He derailed an entire drive. That if he does not take that penalty, they're on the one. Who knows? Maybe Scadaboo gets it in, and those are points you're chasing later on. And we're still killing the defense, but at least you found a way to win the game. And they ultimately did bench him and go to Bo, but they were hesitant to do so mid-drive. They called him over, talked to him. And you're right, Bo, for the most part, held his own way. As long as you're not hearing his name, he did a fine enough job. But that also shows that you had another option that you didn't trust last week when the offense couldn't get going and he stunk. You allowed him to go out there and derail a drive. Have some faith and trust in your draft picks then, huh? I mean, if you're going to toot their own horn, maybe Bo should have been playing earlier. And I guess if you want to find a saving grace out of this game, Bryce, it would be, as much as we hope Andrew Thomas is back next week, we know that this offense, and the Cowboys had a banged up defense, but we know this offense has the ability to function if Marcus Bo is out there because they function more than plenty. So that's a positive on one hand, but on the other hand, it killed an opening drive for him. To walk out of those first couple drives early in that game with only 6 points, this team could have been in cruise control, punching in with a couple touchdowns. Now, Neighbors ends up making a play later. I mean, he makes an unbelievable play later on as well. Wandell was good enough. Slayton had to play down the field. Scadaboo had a couple moments here or there. Can he catch the ball also on that 4th down? But overall, James Hudson net negative. Now, on that Scadaboo drop, I know I'm kind of going all over the place. I'm ironically Scadabooing brain here. In real time, you were down. Geez, what was the score at this point? Was it 17-13 Dallas? I think it was, because we ended up making it 17-16 anyway.
This play was in the third quarter, so yeah, it was
whatever the play. Okay,
points, 40 points were scored in the fourth, 41 points.
Yes, this is in the third quarter. And I don't have the direct play in front of me, but it was when Scadaboo drops the ball on 4th down in real time. I said that was after. I was very early in the third quarter because it was off the Drew Phillips interception. The Drew Phillips interception. Okay, you get the ball. In my mind, you need to come away from that drive with points, and I understand that there's being aggressive in the NFL. And I'm complaining earlier in the game that you're walking away with field goals, but you throw a right hook to Dallas out of it when they sat in halftime, came all out, and you get that pick from Drew Phillips. You're stumbling and you're bumbling. The only thing that cannot happen from the Giants based on that field position, everything, is come away with 0 points, whether that be from turnover on downs or anything. Scadaboo catches the pass. Daboll and company look like geniuses. They were aggressive. They went for a 4th down. He did not. You allowed Dallas to get some, build on that momentum, and you didn't make them pay for the Phillips pick. And guess what? When all was said and done, Dallas is not playing for a 65-yard field goal at the end of that game. And yes, things can change. Play calls change based on points. I know it won't play out exactly the same. But if you take everything in a prism, the New York Giants are up by 6 points when Dallas is looking to kick a 65-yard and then hence playing for a win. Like if all things are factored in. And sometimes these coaches, while everybody's preaching analytics and aggressiveness, sometimes they'll just not remember good old football. Understand the momentum and the pace of the game. I don't know how you felt, Bryce, in that moment, but I was screaming, just kick the freaking field goal and make sure you pay Dallas at least enough with points in that spot.
You got to go for it. I was happy they went for it. I got a call from my grandpa the second they went for it. So they should have taken the point. They should have kicked the field goal. And then I saw your tweet, and I told him, like, yeah, you're on the same page with Shaun there. I think they should have went for it. You need to show your offense that you have trusted them, especially this early on in the season. No matter what you feel about needing to get the points, no matter what you feel about keeping the momentum, as you said, you need to show your offense that you trust them. And it was 4th and 2. And Shaun, it was a good play call. Russell Wilson, you're blaming this a lot on Scatterbo. If you rewatch it, Russell Wilson threw a laser. That's
a pro catch.
I understand that. I understand that, but it wasn't the best throw. He threw it as hard as he could, and he was 3 yards away from him. So I can understand why he dropped it. He's not a receiver, but he dropped it, and you can't drop a pass in that big of a moment. I did not have an issue with them going for it. That's just a sign that you trust your offense, especially in that spot. They couldn't find the end zone. So you got to take a shot there. You got to take a chance of like, all right, we're not going to settle for another field goal. Let's put it into the end zone. And, that was they were at that point 1 for 7 in the red zone.
Crazy.
1 for 7 this year. And they're 1 for 8.
It kills you. I don't know what else you're going to say there. I mean, it kills you. You look, fine. I understand. Play call, catch the ball. You want to call it a laser. In the end, just put up some freaking points, man. This team is not in a position offensively to chase points. Now, as it turns out, they end up lighting it up and everything. All right, now the other part of this, Jackson Dart ends up actually playing. Curious to see. By the time you guys listen to this, you probably have heard him post-game or whatever. I was stunned when they did it. You saw, obviously, the immediacy of the Scatterbo run, and obviously Olsen did a good job on Fox, kind of drawing up the difference between the play Russell Wilson had drawn earlier. So it worked. So clearly they knew there were positions based on, remember, at that point, the Giants had not been in a position to score touchdowns. Like they were failing at that outside of the big Malik Neighbors play. Ironically, his presence entering the game jumpstarts this offensive kookiness that happens in the fourth quarter. They go to it the second time. I didn't mind it. He obviously slips and falls 3 times at that point. If you're not putting the ball in the hands, I think it's time to go back to Russell Wilson. It worked. You got what you needed to do out of it, but it became very, very predictable. However, that being said, now you're in this weird position, Bryce, where it helped jumpstart. You didn't let him throw. Clearly, Daboll wants to use him. That was a good test pass. But you also can't be in a position, I wouldn't think, to say start Jackson Dart in week 3, as many of us predicted we would be in after this game, when Russell Wilson has this unbelievable career game. Throws the pick. That's horrendous. Don't get me wrong. It's going to be sad for Russell Wilson as if that's how you remember from this game. And then obviously throwing the ball in the dirt in overtime. Can't have that. 2 really bad moments. But I still think ultimately you walk away from this game going, well, they used Dart, so it feels like you're opening up that can of worms. But on the same position, you can't go on Sunday Night Football away from a guy that just threw for freaking 500 yards.
We talked about it earlier on this week, and I said if he throws for 300 to 350 yards, he'll buy himself a couple of weeks. Shaun throwing for 400-plus yards, he bought himself 3 or 4 weeks, not just 2.
I don't know about that. This is week to week, dude.
I get that. I understand.
Go out and score 3 points versus the Chiefs.
Okay. That's an absolute extreme. I'm talking about mediocre play going forward.
Absolute extreme. You don't think scoring 37 points is an extreme?
No. I'm saying it's an extreme for them to score 3 points next week. I think they showed this week that they have the capability of actually putting points on the board, which we didn't think going into this week. So they showed us something. Russell Wilson showed us something. So I'm saying, yeah, of course, everyone knows that if he puts up 3 points on the board against the Chiefs, he won't play. I don't think that them playing Dart was opening up a can of worms. I just thought that was their plan going into last week, and they decided to do it again. He actually kept the ball once, tripped, and they lost 3 yards. Every other play, he just handed the ball off. I don't know. Maybe if we saw them let him loose and take a shot down the field, maybe in that sense he'd be opening a can of worms. I don't think in that situation of allowing him to hand the ball off 2-3 times that's that's the sign. He's going to play. Just get him in the game, get him his first reps. Fine. I don't think that really tells us that much. That was the plan.
Yeah. Well, guess what? The plan regardless, is something to keep an eye on because you did it this week. Why wouldn't you do it next week? And this is something that can expand. So as long as Daboll's equipped to handle that. Here is the other note I would like to give everybody. Maybe a slight victory tour here. And again, you're getting extremely vulnerable, bad mood me off a loss. Like you're seeing how I deal with poor Bryce. I mean, I've been a jerk to you and I'm in no mood after these games. And I wear my heart on the sleeve. All right. And he's right. We should be doing this right now. Here's the other thing, man. I heard a lot last week. I heard a lot in the offseason. I heard a lot in March. Hey, at least if you start Jameis Winston, the games will be fun. Guess what you got today? You got a Jameis Winston type game. Russell Wilson threw for a ton of yards. He threw the back-breaking interception. He makes the back-breaking play into the ground. The team gives up 40 points. The team scores a bunch of points. And I ask you, Bryce Gelman, do you feel good? Were you entertained? Do you feel good walking out of this game?
No, absolutely
Okay.
not. And
I
see people on social media saying, well, at least it was close. At least they gave us an exciting game. It's 10 times worse. I'm sorry. It's more dejected, but not more depressing. There's a difference between both. You're emotionally removed if they continue to play terrible games where they have no chance from start to end, wire to wire. This is different. We want this. We want the close games, but doesn't make the feeling better at the end. It's worse.
The only thing that makes me feel better about is that I've seen with my own two eyes that the offense can go out there and compete and look like the biggest problem with week one was they didn't look like an NFL team. They looked like an NFL team, but in the end, they still lost the game, and I'm screaming and yelling. So, no, like if that's what you're getting out of Jameis Winston, what you got from Russ, ironically, I don't think in the end you're 0-2. And let's be fair, Bryce. You and I, not necessarily picking the Giants to go to the playoffs, but we said the same thing last year. We said it about this year. If there was going to be a season like that, knowing the schedule that's coming up, Kansas City and the Chargers and the Eagles twice and Denver, this, that, the other. This was a game where you couldn't come away from the start of the season 0-2. And guess what? They're 0-2. They suck. Bottom line. Big bad defense. 40 freaking points letting the guy kick it from the parking lot. They suck.
Yeah. I mean, you're not going to find any.
So I'm glad everybody got their big 500-yard game. You got the Jameis Winston experience from Russ. So I hope everybody enjoyed that. Awesome. Also, can we stop Javonte Williams at all? I don't know.
Well, we knew that was going to be an issue. We knew that was going to be an issue, Shaun. We knew that was going to be a problem. I have another thing, and it was the first play of overtime. It might have been the first two plays where Dexter Lawrence isn't on the field. Like you got your.
I saw that too, right?
I immediately was like, you don't have your best player.
And Elijah Garcia makes a great play, but still.
I know, but you get minutes from Elijah Garcia. You know, I'm going to give myself I'm going to do my victory lap here. Told you to start. Wan'Dale Robinson.
Oh, God. You're doing victory lap.
Game. Listen, I called that, and there's a silver lining here, is that, it's a good prediction. Should listen to me more, maybe.
All right. So a couple other roundup closeout thoughts. I want to get a couple of things in here. Positive. Good job by Theo Johnson. Looked like a competent NFL tight end today. Okay. That's a positive. Positive. I guess Cam Scadaboo gave some burst to the run game today. I guess that was a positive.
He might. Dude, is he the guy now?
I mean, they're going to use a committee depending on the matchups.
No, and Tyrone Tracy's going to be the third down back. It didn't even seem like he was the third down back.
I think it all depends on matchups. I think they saw. I think it's going to depend on the team they're playing, and I think they saw a matchup. But bottom line is this, man. This is a no Micah Parsons Dallas Cowboys defense. Deron Bland out. This is as vulnerable as the Dallas Cowboys have been in a long time. And the team allowed 40 points and had a lead with 25 seconds left. Also had a 2nd and 29 in overtime. You're thinking it's something you're going to win the game. They couldn't find a path to win the freaking game. They handled the overtime coin toss right to see what they needed. It's just, I don't know what more you need to do in a football game. So here's where I'm at on Giants regime watch and everything else too, Bryce, before we get to it. I didn't like Daboll's non-aggressive. You did. So it just shows you, I think there's going to be a fan base that differs on what Daboll did wrong there. People are going to yell and scream about the penalties and the undisciplined nature that's got to get cleaned up. But overall, yes, it's about wins and losses. Yes, it's about showing, some improvements. I do think that today I feel better about the fact that I don't think the Giants are a 3-win team. I don't know when they're going to come. I don't know where they're going to come. We saw a game like this. I think they're going to upset a team or two. Like, could they win one of the next 2 weeks? They could. Like,
yeah.
I do feel better in the direction of the team, and eventually when we see Jackson Dart, I'm willing to cool it a little bit on Brian Daboll, but in the end, that's still a backbreaking loss where, I mean, you're going to find different ways to lose every week, and this week was about the defense, so whose fault is that? It's Shane Bowen, but guess what? This regime also hired him by losing the Wink Martindale thing. I think we push the fire Brian Daboll stuff aside for one more week, the start Jackson Dart stuff away from one more week. You come home, you figure it out, and you see what you're dealing with a chief team. But overall, this defense just has to answer the bell. And this offense now is going to have to put back-to-back starts where even if 37's a lot, you go back and you start feeling good about the direction of the offense. And I think it's now that we have one really bad from the offense, one really good from the offense, one from the defense, one really bad from the defense. Ironically enough, facing a team like Mahomes and the Chiefs, I think you're going to have a lot of answers about what kind of football team this is, breaking the tie, so to speak, in week 3. Bryce, I'm deflated. I'm dejected. I'm going to go slam 14 slices of pizza. And look, it is what it is. We're going to be back.
Get a better chance. They had to have won. Listen, I thought they might have a chance to win both Cowboys games. I said for a successful season for the Giants, you have to win one of the two. And to have a chance like that slip through your fingertips like it did, it's so deflating. It is. It's so hard to be a fan of this team. It really is. And I not like selfishly speaking, I think I'm speaking for the both of us here is like, the last 2 years we've done this podcast, and it's been very difficult to continue making content when the team is a joke. There's nothing to actually talk about. And I was sitting there, not just as a fan, but as someone who now covers the team in a sense of like praying that they won that game. Again, not just as a fan, but as someone who actually talks about the team, twice a week. It's just, it was like, even worse. It compounded the issue that they lost in that fashion.
All right. I'm going to go. I'm currently doing this podcast, by the way. I brought all my equipment to my parents' house. I'm sitting in my parents' basement den floor. I don't even have a chair right now. But that's how much I came out into this podcast. If you're looking at me in the video, I'm what do you want me to tell you? You're getting raw me. I'm done. I'm dead. I'm upset. But I'm gonna rally the troops. I'm going to pull myself together. And we'll do another preview pod next week as we get set for the Giants and the Chiefs. At Bryce Gelman on Twitter. At Shaun Morash on Twitter. Thank you, everybody, in a demoralizing week 2 for taking one giant step with us.